October 20, 2014. This is our meeting of the month, city council meeting. We got our workshop early on. And it's customary, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to our council meeting here at City Hall, we will have a pledge to the flag, which will be followed by an invocation. So if you please stand at this time, I'd like to call on Rick Knight, Mayor Pro Tem, to lead us in the pledge, and our invocation will be by our good friend and Pastor Bert Neal of Winston Chapel. Good night.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor.
Let us bow our heads. Most gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for another day that you've allowed us to see. Thank you for letting us be part of your creation just one more time. Thank you for the breath of life that you put in us each and every day. And now, God, we come to this place here at the City Hall for McDonough and ask for your presence to be here. We ask blessings over the mayor and the city council. We ask blessings over all the citizens of McDonough, God, as we would come just to understand how best to serve you in this place as we serve each other. We pray for your blessings, your glory to just rise and shine among us, God. For we want you to be glorified in all of our lives. And so now come and just be present with us here. We ask all these things in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Pastor. You may be seated, ladies. Many of you may not have noticed two young ladies in the back of the room, and I met them momentarily. I want to introduce them to this time. We'll go down to item number 4. Madison Ballman is with Plate State. She's going to suffer through this long week tonight and write a report, about a 4 or 5 page report, and that probably won't be hard to do. And Miranda Adams, Miranda represents Union Grove football. So ladies, we welcome you and to our council meeting. Thank you. Janice, you have to follow me, okay?
Yes, sir.
Approval of the agenda, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move on to page 2. Under public comments, I'm going to add, we have Ms. Neal here. I'm going to add Mr. Andy Davis, Councilman Craig Elrod, and me under public comments. If you'll move over to page 3, I would like to remove item 13. 14 and 15, ladies and gentlemen, we will have a special call meeting possibly on 10:30, but that will be determined later, which will be next week. Item number 18, we're postponing to 11:06, and we're adding 2 items to executive session. The first being executive session for personnel, OCGA 50-14-3B2. Executive session for real estate, OCGA 50-14-3B1. Janice,
Except just the one, make sure they saw the correction in minutes.
I'll deal with that.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard the comments relative to the deletion, removal, and the addition. With that, I entertain the motion to agenda be approved. Second? Second. Thank you so much. Anybody have any questions, comments? Hearing none, Ms. Price, please restate the motion and second.
The motion is to approve tonight's agenda with the following amendments. On item number 7, we are adding Mr. Andy Davis. We're adding Councilmember Craig Elrod. We're adding the mayor for additional public comments. On page 3, we are removing item number 13. We are removing item number 14 and 15, which both items will be discussed at a special call meeting. We are removing item 18, which will be postponed till November the 6th. And for item 20, executive session, we are adding personnel, which is 50-14-3B2, and we're adding real estate, which is 50-14-3B1.
Okay, you've heard the reading of the motion second. Those in favor, please signify by raising your hand.
not voting on the machine level?
Since I'm raising mine, just have them all raised.
6 in favor, 6 in favor.
6, so no opposition, okay, thank you. Thank you, council members. Let's move down to the consent agenda. I'll give you a moment or two to look at, we have numerous items there, from A down through H. And this afternoon, sometime later this afternoon, there was a modified change in that relative to some figures, and that was sent to you, and the changes are correct. Having said that, I'll give you a moment or two to look this over, and then I'll be entertaining a motion that the consent agenda be approved. Items A through H. I entertain a motion that the consent agenda be approved.
So moved.
Second. Okay, motion made and second. Anyone have any questions? A lot of items there, a lot of money, a lot of issues. Hearing none, this price. Please restate the motion and the second.
The motion is to approve the consent agenda for tonight.
Okay, folks, you use your machine, I'll raise mine. Those in favor, and I'm in favor, and I don't know what you are, but we'll find out momentarily, okay?
6 in favor, Mayor.
Fair enough, thank you so much. We had 3 proclamations and 2 certificates of recognition. Tonight, we have the retired educators here, Dr. Gordon Baker and Ms. Ann Jones, and both are educators here in our community. Y'all, Gordon, will you and Ms. Jones come forward and let me read the proclamation that we have signed on behalf of you good teachers throughout our community, and I'll make the presentation to you momentarily. Proclamation, Retired Educators Day. Whereas more than 105,000 retired educators have devoted their time and energies and talent to public education, providing the academic development of millions of outstanding Georgia citizens. And whereas retired teachers have touched and influenced the lives of generations of young people, motivating and inspiring their students to use their innate talents and abilities to the fullest and to become responsible, contributing citizens. And whereas retired educators possess valuable knowledge and use their lifetime experience and skills to enrich the educational process in a variety of settings, and often continue to be a major source of insight and direction in education for our state and our nation. And whereas for 57 years, the Georgia Retired Teachers Association, Educators Association has dedicated their efforts to improving the welfare of retired teachers and providing opportunities for them to become involved in community activities. Now therefore, I do hereby proclaim the 2nd of November 2014 to be Retired Educators Day in the city of McDonough in recognition of the profession and to commend local retired teachers for their time and commitment to bettering our country. I further provide that this proclamation will be made a part of the official minutes of the October 20, 2014 meeting of the McDonough City Council. In witness whereof, I do hereby set my hand and cause the corporate seal of the city to be affixed this 24th day of September 2014. We have the city seals attested to by our city clerk, Janice Price, signed by me, and on behalf of our council and those citizens here and those citizens outside of City Hall. And I'd like to say to you and Dr. Gordon Baker, the original of this proclamation. Thank you, Gordon. We'll give you a chance. Either one of you like to say anything, we welcome that at this time.
You want to speak, Gordon?
those teachers who've worked in the schools that serve the city of McDonough have always known they had the support of the mayor and the city council. And we're so happy that you want to honor us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Red Ribbon Week, Retired Educators Day, Gothic International Ministries Day is Teresa Haygood and Mrs. Barbara Ann Solomon Johnson. I'd like to entertain a motion, all of these be made a part of tonight's meeting. Entertain a motion. Have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Any comments? Hearing none, Ms. Price, please share with us the motion in second, and then we'll vote. Make those proclamations and certificates part of tonight's meeting.
The motion is for the proclamations for Red Ribbon Week, for Retired Educators Day, and for the Adopting International Ministries Day, and the certificates of recognition for Ms. Teresa Haywood and Ms. Barbara Ann Solomon Johnson. These documents be made a part of tonight's meeting.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the council, please vote with your machine, and I'm voting by uplifted hand in favor.
7 in favor, Mayor.
Thank you so much. This time we're going to move right on down to item number 7. First is Judy Neal. Judy, would you like to come forward and tell us about the event that you're hosting this weekend? Well,
I basically just wanted to come tonight to thank the city of McDonough for all they do to help to put together the Spirits of McDonough City Cemetery Tour. It's a great opportunity to honor the past, honor people who have helped to build McDonough, and we are very excited. We have great response to that. We have, if you waited to the last minute to get a ticket, please call tomorrow, the next day about your tickets. They really are beginning to be limited in certain time slots. But basically, we just like to thank all the employees that help us out on the ground, out of the cemetery. And I'm wanting to say that it's a great way that we can be a little bit more involved at the cemetery so that we can prevent damage and all kinds of things happening out there. But it's just great, and I wanted to say thank you. A lot of people come to complain. I came to say thank you. So thank you very much.
thank you, Judy. Thank you so much. Judy, you're always welcome. What a wonderful job you and other members of the Art Council have done. And Keith Dickerson, I can't thank him enough for the interest he has shared and taken in getting ready this tour, which is on this Saturday and Sunday. So I've got my tickets about 12:30, and I got there in time to pick out a couple. And so if you need any tickets, as Judy says, there's a lot of people coming, and that's a wonderful thing. So Judy, thank you for all you do, and look forward to that tour. This time, a good friend of mine, and we are so fortunate to have such a talented man in our community, Mr. Andrew Davis, a sculptor here. He's known all over the world, ladies and gentlemen. I think I mentioned one time that everywhere except the North and the South Pole. So having said that, I'm going to invite Andrew to come up. He wants to talk to you about the Patrick Henry sculpture, which is a cultural marvel, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, and city council members, distinguished members of the gallery, I was in the mayor's office this morning and let him know that the sculpture for the city hall is finished now. And I literally just got him done just several hours ago, and I was excited and let him know that it was ready. So he had the idea to have me come up tonight. So I'm grotesquely underdressed. I have schmutz on my shirt, but it's okay. This is how I work every day, and I want to thank y'all for this time. On May 30th of this year, about 300 to 400 members of our beautiful city and county showed up on a windy and drizzly day to honor a man that is part of our great nation's history and has given us and recognized the fact that we all need to be free. And he risked his life to do so. I won't tell the whole thing. I've got 3 minutes, and I usually don't speak over my time. But what he did that day, for those of you that weren't there, he gave a speech at the St. John's Church in Richmond, Virginia, under the warrant of death from King George. The person that was presiding in the meeting, much like this, was King George's personal attorney. And under that warrant of death, if Patrick Henry were to show up, King George did that to intimidate this man, who was only about 29 years old at the time. And he was an attorney as well. But he was not intimidated by King George. He was not intimidated by the speaker of that day. And when he rose from the third row, sitting right here about where I was, and gave a speech, the attorney at that time that was presiding over the meeting realized that this was history in the making, and that at that point in time, Patrick Henry was not to be touched. I don't know what you were doing at 29, but I wasn't doing something like that. And so this sculpture, it's a bronze sculpture, placed out in front of the courthouse. The whole thing is about 9 feet tall. And we did the presentation that day, and it was a great honor for me to do that. And I certainly hope and pray that this sculpture will be well taken care of and maintained here. Because as I sat over here right near where Chief Dorsey is, I always get teary-eyed. Now, I'm not going to today. I'm fine. Because I've become so passionate with the pieces of work that I've done all over the world, from Ray Charles to all the way to here. And these are sculptures that are usually larger than life. And the people were ordinary people, but they also, because of their talents and their skills and their abilities, they became larger than life. But they were no different than you and I. And when I look at this today, sitting over there, I was sitting right around this area, but I wanted to move over here because I wanted to have the opportunity to look at his profile again. Because to me, it's beautiful. Even though I created it, I can't believe that I did. I'm always humbled by that. And in fact, I was talking to Gail about that. And I was walking in the back, and I turned around and looked, and she thought I was looking at her, which I do. She's cute as she can be, but I was looking at him because I'm not going to be able to see him in this manner. But when I look at it, I don't see any of this, and I really mean this. I don't see any of this. I see my studio superimposed over the image that I'm seeing right here. And I'm seeing the marble powder and the dust. My new studio cat, Karma, brought to me possibly a little bit by the McDonough Police Department and the chief and the fire department. And I just see the hard work and just the wonderful times that I spend there at the studio sculpting. Many times in absolute silence and solace at the studio. And then now I just see him there. It's like I wasn't even a part of it. It's already separated from me. And it breaks my heart a little bit. It really does. And I never get used to it. And I hope that I never do. So this is for y'all too. And I appreciate the city and her citizens, the 60 people that contributed to this. And we donate this also as well permanently to the City Hall here. And may he live here and reside forever. Thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's on behalf of our city council members tonight and the citizens that are here among us and all those that are not here, and we accept this with a deep sense of gratitude. What a beautiful sculpture you made. I've been down there. This man here is the most talented person. As I said, I think I mentioned on the 30th or whatever it is, he's got sculptors all over the world with the exception of the North and South Poles. That pretty well tells you about him, right? Andy, thank you so much. We're working on it. Ms. Price is working on a permanent place for this, and I got you that little cart down that truck, and of course you started with it. Ladies and gentlemen, this weighs 70 pounds. When he came in here, he was perspiring, and I couldn't have him the other day. I was hoping he could get it up this high, so that's the reason we put this podium out here to give everybody a chance to see this work of this fine gentleman who lives among us and is so talented and so gifted. But Andy, thank you again. Thank you so much. At this time, Councilman Elrod, I give him a chance to a comment or two. Go ahead, Greg, if you want to come down, fine, where you are, be fine. Then we get on with our minutes here, our business.
Yes, sir. Mayor asked me to give everybody an update. That we were able to attend the registration Saturday for the Miss Georgia pageant, Miss Teen Georgia pageant, which is going to be held in McDonough in November. On Saturday, the first day of registration was held, and there was 120 people registered. They sold 800 tickets in one day for this event. 3 hotels in our city are completely booked that entire weekend. So that kind of just gives you a little bit of the impact that pageant's going to bring to our city. And I think we got extremely lucky with a beautiful weather day Saturday. I think every one of those people who came brought at least 4 or 5 people with them, and they all stayed on the square all afternoon. I was able to have dinner at PJ's and noticed a lot of familiar faces walking around. I want to thank Lauren with Main Street and Keith with Public Works and Cheryl, who's not here, from tourism. Those 3 units pulled together and pulled off a great event. So I want to just update everybody at the beginning of the meeting, since we're going to have a long meeting tonight probably, and some of these faces won't be here at the end. So that's where we are, and pageant will come back in November, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty big event.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you for your time.
As Greg said, I've had nothing to go there. I've never seen a big car. They line up at 7 o'clock. And it started at 9. I didn't get there because I had a funeral I didn't want to go by. Kim Greenwood, Lee Greenwood's wife, I think she's very, very pleased. Lee will probably be here. You'll be interested in the judges, who they are. That's why I'm interested too. This is a big deal, folks. It's a huge deal. 710 people can get into the Performing Arts Center. As he said, 800 tickets, $35,000 worth of tickets were sold this Saturday, and they're being sold as we speak today. So look forward to Miss Georgia team, Miss Georgia and Miss Georgia team. The 21st will be at Eagles Landing, McDonough. And then we're working very closely with the county and Chairman Smith for transportation. But anyway, Fred, thank you for all the work you have done, and Molly Spitz and Jill Kowski. What a wonderful event. Looking forward to that. 2 quick items on my behalf. We have a job fair, ladies and gentlemen. It will be Friday, Kendall 2 at the Presbyterian Church. We have never had this many corporations and public entities registered. We registered 43rd person corporation today. We went over and measured even down to the inches to get number 43 in. But things have really increased. We started this 8 years ago, and I said something about the list. I said we had 7 people. We ended up about 15, and it's grown, but not to the extent it has this year. Some of the most major corporations in the United States are going to be there. Going to be there Friday. So I would encourage you to encourage others that are looking for positions. Unless they have it down to a science that's according to what you're interested in, and you can go right to that booth. And all spin of Delta. Delta's going to be there as a primary, but Delta has another subsidiary that's coming to call this afternoon, and that was really interesting. They got that job listed, so I would encourage you to mention this to other folks who may be looking for a job. And the last thing is kind of such a disappointment to me, and I think it will be to the council and citizens of McDonough. Rachel Shower. This young lady that's seated down here, very quiet at every council meeting. She hardly says anything, but I can assure you she knows what's going on. Rachel called me today, and she's leaving the Henry Daily Herald, and it's such a disappointment to me, and I'm sure it is to many of you, that she'll be leaving October 31st. Rachel, thank you for all the great work you've done on behalf of the Henry Daily Herald. And ladies and gentlemen, let's thank her and show our appreciation. And with that, let me move see if we can start with the agenda. Final subject.
I
we've got, two applicants here, the first being, Benjamin, Hubert. How about bringing that matter to our attention, and then we'll, discuss that and have a, open public hearing relative to that application. Go ahead, Roger.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. On your screen, you have the authorization letter signed by Mr. and Mrs. Hubert that authorizes Mr. Wayne Smith to be the representative for tonight's discussion to matters of business. You have in your packets the summary regarding the approval of ordinance 14-10-2001Z, the rezoning request by Benjamin Hubert for the property located at 205 Decatur Road. As you recall, in our workshop, we talked about the location of the property and being contiguous to those properties. They're in between your Lawrenceville Street and Fairview Drive, along your Highway 155, also known as Decatur Road. You can see regarding the land use information. Also, too, this is the future land use map for the Henry County. There are a couple changes we will be making in the future on it. But just want to refresh everyone's mind, and also particularly any citizens who are not at the Planning Commission meeting and or the City Council workshop. Your Planning Commission unanimously voted for the recommendations that are in your document, and I will turn it back to the Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Rodney. At this time, Rodney has alluded to, Mr. Smith is going to represent you. Wayne, we welcome you to the podium. Any comments that you might like to share on behalf of this rezoning request from R100 to O&I? Welcome, Wayne.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Ben and Kathy had scheduling conflict and they were unable to be here, so they asked me to be here in their stead. Rodney's indicated they've given written authorization. Certainly I have reviewed this with Ben and Kathy. I reviewed it with Rodney. It would appear to me that the application is in order. We certainly are aware of the conditions and the staff recommendations that come with the recommendation from the Planning Commission. So unless there are questions or other issues that come up this evening, I don't know that there's anything else for me to do, but they want to be represented.
Thank you so much. Just a moment, Wayne, let me see. Council members, you don't have any questions of Rodney and or Mr. Smith relative to this?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Rodney. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna open a public hearing. Each person, you have a total of 10 minutes, folks. Those that will speak in favor, and those that will speak in opposition. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, those, as I open the public hearing, I would invite those to the podium that will be in favor of this modification. If you please come to the podium and state your name, we welcome you at this time. Okay. Those in opposition, you too are welcome, and we encourage you to come. Ladies and gentlemen, do I have anyone speaking in favor or in opposition? At this time, I will close the public hearing and turn this matter over to Councilman Craig Elrod, and any comments you might like to make and or a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to rezone property located at address 205 Decatur Road, rezone this to O&I with the new conditions that staff has put forward.
Second.
Motion made and second. Council member, you still have an opportunity to question as it relates to the motion and second on the floor. Any questions? Any comments? Being none, Ms. Price, you have a motion second, share it with us, and then we'll call for a vote.
The motion is to approve the rezoning for property located at 205 Decatur Road, the rezoning to O&I with new conditions.
Okay, would you please vote, members of the council, at this time?
7 in favor, Mayor.
7 in favor. Just feel that you are well aware, as anybody, we'll notify officially, you know, the decision of this council, but we'll put it in writing next day or two, and you can share it with the applicants. But thank you so much for being here.
And then on behalf of Ben and Kathy, I extend our gratitude and appreciation for the cooperation and support of staff and for the support of mayor and council. Thank you.
Okay, like you heard, let's move on down to item number B.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Your next item in your packet is approval of ordinance 14-10-2002Z for the rezoning request by Mike Kerr pertaining to such a property at 335 Lakedale Road, which is what we know as Windsor Estates. You have within your, we discussed at the workshop, your planning commission specifically deals with just the relocation of the amenity site. Just to make sure for any member of the audience who is not in attendance at the planning commission meeting or the city council meeting. You also have, we went over the workshop regarding the text amendment, which I'm putting up on the screen for anyone in the audience. It's just regarding the relocation of the amenity site into the interior portion of the community. This is a copy of the official final plat, and it shows you the relocation areas. Mayor and council.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you so much. Ms. Kerr, welcome. Thank you for Heritage Bank. Mike, we welcome you.
Thank you.
Give you a chance to make any comments you like.
Well, we appreciate it. As Ryan indicated, all we're requesting is the opportunity to relocate the amended package in the subdivision from the first two lots on the left to the interior location that was originally approved when the plat was reported in 2008. We ran into some engineering problems, some floodplain problems on the first two lots. So we just simply want to relocate it. That's the sole request.
All right. Council members, Ms. Kerr is here to answer any of your questions and or Rodney Hurd. Anyone have any questions? Any comments relative to this application? Yes, sir.
Mayor, if you would make sure for the audience clear is that all the other conditions with the previous ordinance are included with this ordinance.
No questions? Folks, Councilman Elrod, I'd entertain the motion. Any comments you might like to have relative to Windsor Estates?
I'd like to make a motion.
We're about to have the public hearing.
Sure it is. Thank you, Janice. I had marked through the applicant and city council questions. Thank you for calling that to my attention. Open the public hearing, folks. I would never, thank you. Anyone in favor that's present, we welcome you at this time to the podium. In favor of this modification. Total of 10 minutes. Hearing none, what about those in opposition or against this change, this requested change? Okay. Now, thank you, Ms. Price. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm going to call on Mr. Elrod one more time for any comments and any decision you might like to make relative to the Windsor Estates.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the rezoning of the address located at 335 Lakedale Road, also known as Windsor Estates, to R85 Single Family Residential with all conditions from ordinance number 13-12-16001Z, with the exception of one modification for the relocation of the unit site.
Have a second. You got a second. Councilman Stewart. Still got one more chance, folks, for any questions, any comments as it relates to this rezoning. Any questions, any comments? Ms. Price, please share with us the motion second on the floor.
The motion is to approve the property located at 335 Lakedale Road, also known as Windsor Estates, for the rezoning to R85 Single Family Residential with all conditions from ordinance 13-12-16001Z, with the exception of one modification for the relocation of the amenity site.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, would you please vote?
Seven in favor, Mayor.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
I just have a question. I know we've already voted, but in saying with one modification for the relocation of amenity site, do we need to make sure that that drawing is a part of the motion?
Right.
Would you like, we can do that. Your planning commission document, we can provide stuff for you.
I meant for the clerk's record.
Yes, she has a copy, and just for
It's
verification.
attached as part of the ordinance.
Yeah.
Councilmember Vincent, so it will be part of the record and
The motions
Your concern
are
is-
typically stated a little bit different.
Yeah.
but I think your concern, I understand your concern, and so for the record, that would be
Thank
taken
you,
care of.
Mayor. Thanks so much. Let's move down to, we've been discussing this court financing for some time. And we have been looking at that, and we came up with a kind of proposal which we will consider on November 4th. Just time, Bill, I welcome you. Bill Count is the investment banker of Raymond James Associates, and I understand he has a little presentation. I want to give everybody an update, and then we'll be making some decisions in November. Bill, thank you for being here tonight. We'll give you a chance to share an update of this municipal court financing.
Thank you all for having me. I'm gonna do a handout that y'all can make notes on, and we're also gonna do one on the projector. Pleased to be with y'all again. I had the privilege of serving y'all on your water sewer refunding bond issue last year, and also on the lease transaction that built this fine city hall many years ago. And also been involved behind the scenes on your upcoming portion of the GEO sales tax bonds through Henry County. So good to be in front of you, and I appreciate your time. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because I know you have a lot on the agenda, but please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to stop me. The latest estimates for the facility is $4,025,000. So a basic question being asked by staff and I guess the council members are, should you borrow all that money, $4 million, and finance it over time? Or should you borrow part of it? Could we perhaps spend some of the reserves, $1 million, say, to decrease the amount of money that we borrow? And it's a give and take situation. Interest rates are very low, but to the extent that you spend money that you have right now in pocket, in hand, you have no cost of issuance on it, you have no interest expense on it. So I'm going to just give you some numbers so you can kind of think about it and help make that decision. All right, so in the event, I ran these numbers Friday, in the event that you borrow the full $4,025,000, $4,024,682, I'm making some assumptions here about what I think our rating would be and some tax benefit there. I've run different numbers here for different years, different time periods over which we would pay back principal and interest, 10 years out to 30 years. And you'll see, I think for you all, perhaps the most important component here is the impact on the millage. When we pay back this principal and interest, we're doing it through the issuance of Urban Redevelopment Agency revenue bonds. And it's a contract for services between the city and the Urban Redevelopment Agency. But at the end of the day, the contract payments that the city makes are for these debt service amounts each year. So we've got to make sure in each year's budget that there's enough money set aside to make sure that bondholders get paid. Okay, so at the high end, 0.7 of a mil, and as we go out to 30 years, it's 1/3 of a mil. Again, these are estimates, but Now here's the same analysis, but obviously for a much smaller amount of bonds. Gone from 3 million, from 4 million down to 3 million, because we're using some of the cash on hand to decrease the borrowing. So again, you can see from $500,000 down to $250,000, depending on what period of time we want to pay back the bonds. So as you know, rates are very low. This is just some information about bond issuance. Two things are happening. Currently there's a real push towards higher security investments. You know, there's generally a fear. That's bad for your 401ks, but it's good when you're considering borrowing money in the municipal market. Bonds are a safe credit, and so investors are coming interested and willing to pay you a higher price than normal, which means lower yield, lower cost. Also, just some issuance information here. As you've noticed, from 2012, 13, 14, issuance is going down. So not only do investors crave this good, highly rated security, there's fewer bonds in the marketplace. So that's a good thing for y'all. Issuance September to September for the first 9 months of 13 versus 14, issuance is down almost 10% again in 14. And this is a picture. So in each year, you've got a high and a low mark all the way down the curve, 1 to 30 years. This curve right here is an average of where rates have been since the early 90s, since we've been keeping track of MMD, the municipal market data. These are AAA yields. I don't believe y'all are AAA in my book, but to a credit agency, a rating agency, we're going to be something a little less. But this gives us a barometer. This red curve, that's an average. That shows you where we are today historically. We may not be at the low water mark, but again, if you have to borrow, whatever amount you have to borrow, historically speaking, it's still a pretty good time to be thinking about it. And then this last page, we're in a litigious society, and this is securities information. I've given y'all a lot of estimates, and until we actually price a bond issue, we don't know what the principal and interest is going to be. We don't know what the millage impact is going to be. We look at these millage rates based on current data, and millage rates go up, millage rates go down, the value of the digest goes up, goes down. So there's a lot of moving parts here, and I hope this information was helpful to you all, and happy to try to answer any questions you all.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for that presentation. Give the council any questions. As he has alluded to, it's two figures here that will be considered in November. The most current amount that we know of, we're going to go 682, and then utilizing $1 million of water and sewer funds that we have set aside that we can use to offset this down to previous. It's really that simple as I see it. Council members, you may have some questions of Bill, and I felt like since this was a major issue, that we ought to have him here, and he's share that information with us. So we welcome any opportunity, any questions that you might have. Mr. Kemp, at this time, anyone? Bill, I really appreciate you coming and giving the council kind of a heads up of where we are. We know that you're very clear. This is an estimate, probably the best guesstimate that we have tonight on whatever day it is, October or something like the 20th. But I hope that everybody will take this, look at this. I've been trying to look at it today and do rule calculating here and there myself, but this is good work, Bill.
Thank you.
And we're grateful, and I hope that we can move forward. It's something that our people in the court system need badly, and I think this is an opportunity. We'll talk about it further, make some decision, but we'll have you, keep you informed, and thank you again for all the work you've done, and the staff here.
That's right.
In conjunction with the staff. Thank you.
I just wanted to brag on them. They've been looking at this for 2 years.
Right,
you know,
right.
and,
You did.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for your time. And my number and email's on there. Y'all don't hesitate to call if I can be of any assistance.
Appreciate you sharing that information about the staff, because they've been working on this sometime. They too are keen interest in the financing aspect. Appreciate you being here, Bill. Thank you again. Ms. Tuck, we welcome you to any comments. You've got item number 10.
I'll just use this as my prop. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The first thing, oh, I didn't know it was on. We'll just do that. The first thing on the item that I need to talk to you about is GASB 45 requirements that are regarding other post-employment benefits. So I don't know if that summary was helpful to you all. It's a little complicated. We have the finance director here in case I can't answer your question. Maybe I know she will be able to. So the issue is that there's an expense that's going to be involved if we keep a resolution that was adopted in 2011 to offer our employees health insurance at their own expense when they retire up to age 65. Well, this requirement with GASB 45 says we have to account for that liability. Even though the retirees would pay for it out of their own pocket, it's still, according to this new requirement, could create a liability for the city that needs to be accounted for in our financial records. So we kicked around, do we keep that resolution and offer it to our employees? And one of the reasons we adopted that resolution was because we have the Rule of 80 as one of our early retirement options. So the employees were making comments like, well, I don't know if I can retire early if I have to I don't know where I can find health insurance. You know, so I may have to work longer just for health insurance. So we said, okay, we adopted a resolution. If you retire early, at your own expense, we'll keep you on the insurance until you're age 65 and you can get Medicare, et cetera. So that's why we adopted it then. And our choice now is, do we keep that resolution and continue offering it to the employees? And if we do, then we have to have an actuarial valuation done every 2 to 3 years at a cost between what our auditor said is he's been seeing it between $5,000 and $8,000 is what it'll cost to do that valuation. And it has to be done every 2 to 3 years to see if our liability is called material. Does it have any impact on us in our financial statements? So we kicked around, do we get rid of the resolution and just say, well, employees, you can retire early, but you have to find insurance on your own? Or do we go ahead and continue offering the retirement benefits and do the study? So staff recommendation is that we do the study and we keep it because we do offer early retirement, and it's a great benefit for our package that we offer the employees. The money would most likely come from, I spoke with Lolita, the auditor's line item in her budget to do the study, and we would probably contact GMA to see if they could do the study for us. So this would require a vote from you all.
I think that's what it is. What did you just say? What did you say? Require what?
A vote?
Yeah, oh, yeah, oh.
A vote.
This is your recommendation, and the staff's recommendation, we
Yes.
move this direction. I
Yes.
totally concur.
And we have to do this, the auditor told me, I have to have direction. And if we don't do something, then he has to do some kind of write-up in his report on us, and it wouldn't look good. So we don't want that.
You heard the recommendation, oh, excuse me.
Yeah, yes, sir, thank you. How many employees do we currently have utilizing this benefit?
0.
0.
But I think one of the reasons is that we adopted the Rule of 80 in 2008 at the end of the year. And it's kind of early for employees to be using that benefit right now.
So I wasn't sure if some of the ones that have retired were utilizing this.
Not yet.
So not yet.
There have only been a few actually, and several of them have been Medicare age, so they couldn't have benefited from it anyway.
Other questions, folks?
Just, Mayor, just this question. Carla, do you know if, would Jimmy be the person that actually provides the study, or is there someone else?
You have to hire,
Okay,
but he mentioned he knows GMA does this type of
Okay.
thing, so I guess that's where I'd start.
so in doing the study, and I'm giving it this weight because staff has recommended that we move in this direction. But I'm wondering, will that individual give us any type of data on the impact of the Affordable Care Act? Because that is an option that was not available to individuals in 2011.
We did discuss that, and I've spoken with the mayor about it and other personnel.
What have been some of the initial comments?
I've actually gone and spoken with several of the employees that might be thinking about retiring in the next 5 years or so, and I had mixed reviews. Some said, oh, well, I can get it through my spouse, and some said, no, I'd like to keep this, I need it. If I retire at 60, which we have several who can, yes, they could do COBRA for 18 months, but then after that, they would have the option, I guess, as the exchange, if they want. We have great insurance, and I heard that they would like to continue it with us.
Councilman, ladies? Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a question. So at 60, we'll say, are we, the city paying matching funds even after they retire? They'll just be able to buy into our plan, the city plan, whatever it may be.
Whatever the city plan is, they would pay, there's the premium, the full premium for what it would be. So, yeah, there's nothing out of pocket for the city except for whatever this GASB 45 shows is determine what the financial liability would be. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, the employees who retire early, they could stay here until they're 65. So when we get our premium, they actually factor that in, and I spoke with our broker, they actually factor in our age already up to age 65, those that can be on the plan. So our auditor doesn't think it will be material, or it'd be very minimal material for us because we aren't paying for the premium. It would be if the city was paying that premium, but they're not.
You said medical, does that include, they'll be able to buy the dental plans?
Just medical.
Just medical.
Yes, sir.
I think you just answered my question, but my question is, if we have these retirees at 60, we're only at 65, because we have a higher number of older age workers on the plan, does that not affect our overall rates? Or are you saying we're already paying that anyway?
It's already factored in because they could work
Right.
until 65, so they have to
So it
factor
doesn't
that
affect
into
our
the
overall
rates.
rate either way.
Correct.
Okay, and then just one second question. You said 2 to 3 years. Is it 2 years or 3 years? We have this study, do we know? Or is that?
We don't know yet, and it depends, probably after the first one, we'll see how material it is, and I think that determines whether it's a 2 or 3. Is that correct, Lolita?
Okay. And when would the first one be? Pretty quick.
We probably have to hop on it.
Other questions, folks?
Just one more, given that the rate is calculated, kind of on the top end, what would be considered a liability?
Well, we don't really know, and neither did the auditor, because the city is not paying anything. Lolita, do you have anything to add to that? I'm not sure I can do that justice.
Yes, what they have to do is calculate what they could possibly pay out once that employee retires, and they will have to accrue that liability. And if they don't accept it, then they go back and reverse it in future years. But you have to accrue the liability during the period of which the liability was earned, or the benefit was earned. So if they've been working these years, they have to see how many years out they would have to pay and what's the possible exposure. That's a new requirement under GASB. And so we have to go into full disclosure, so that's what's different this year.
But basically what you're saying is, it doesn't appear to be much of anything, ever,
Correct.
if anything at all.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions?
I think we should see, I think, personally, I think we, should move forward to see if there is any, and because we can certainly take it up again next year.
Absolutely.
And, right now, in the, metropolitan area of Atlanta, us having this as part of our package and retirement package, I'm sure means an awful lot to our employees, so.
Councilman, go ahead.
Who will collect payment?
Well, right now, our broker is the one that assists us. In fact, I don't even know that we have anybody on COBRA right now. So I haven't had anyone make a payment to us, and I think that's how it would be making a payment to the city.
Any other questions? You heard the recommendation that we have considered this valuation. And you see what the cost is, actuary valuation. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, you've got a recommendation, I entertain a motion. Any member of the council, relative to moving forward.
Mayor,
Yes,
I just would like to know do we have this much money, Lolita? Do we have enough money to cover the study?
We'll have to take it out of the audit line. There's enough coverage.
Under audit?
Okay. One more time, entertain a motion, folks. We get a motion.
So moved.
All right, do we have a second? Second. Thank you so much. Now we got a motion and a second.
And basically, Mayor, we really don't have a choice at this point. We really need to do this. We need to take action, and we need to have the study in order to not have to make sure that everything is clear in our audit. Is that correct?
It's either vote to go ahead with the study and keep the resolution as it is, or you all are going to have to rescind the resolution.
Let me just say, if we take no action at all, then we will be out of compliance with gas.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have one question.
So, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Do you know if other cities offer the same, in our local area, offer the same benefit? You don't know or not?
I don't know if they do in our area. I know the auditor has said other entities do. And I will tell you, he has had one entity, just to be upfront, it was a county. It was too big. They said, we're not gonna do this because the cost is too much. So they went ahead and stopped offering that benefit. But he said others are doing the study.
Okay. So, exactly what you told me too. So, got a motion second, give you one more opportunity to question, folks. We need to be clear on this. Okay, Ms. Price.
Mayor,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and I'll be real quick. Carla, do we know, do we have a schedule of what will be in that study? I know it's an actuarial study, but what I'm asking is, will there be additional information that's there, as an example, what Councilperson Elrod just asked about comparative cities of our size?
No, they won't be doing that in the study, Lolita, I don't think.
So they're just primarily
They're going
going,
to look at our plan and tell us whether it's material or not.
will they give us actual cost?
They'll give an estimated cost, and that's
Okay.
what we'll have to accrue for our.
Okay, yes,
Okay, Ms. Price.
The motion is to keep the current resolution as it is and to proceed with the actuary valuation, which will be an approximate cost between $5,000 and $8,000, which will be paid from a line item from the auditors.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please cast your vote at this time?
Mr. Mayor, there are 7 in favor.
Thank you so much, Council. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Ms. Grant. Let's move down to item number 11. Mr.
Oh, wait,
Dixon.
wait, Carl had D.
I have one more thing.
Oh,
One more thing.
I didn't even see the.
And this was just sort information purpose, an update on our health insurance renewal. Normally I come to you and tell you we're tweaking it, or I need your vote for something, but we're going to keep everything the same this year. So I wanted to let you know that we were able to bargain and get a 9% increase. It started out higher, and we got it down to 9% to keep our current benefits with the current carrier. And let's see, it did go up. In the summary, you can see that of that 9% increase, 7.25% was due to the Affordable Care Act, which was out of our control. So we had a really good claims ratio that they were calculating our increase on. So from our standpoint, the employees did really well this year. So we didn't have much of an increase due to our high claims, what it amounts to.
And the dental insurance?
The dental insurance is going up 6.96%. We've actually paid out more than we paid them this year. So yay, employees are going to the dentist. So, that's a good thing. But I did anticipate an increase, and I did budget for it, so we don't need a budget amendment to accommodate the increase.
Good information, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions? Thank you, Paul.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much. Let's move down to item number 11. Mr. Dixon, and I think, item number 12. Come in, Keith.
Good evening. Basically what we've done is I've been promising to bring you a list, and I think you have a packet of stormwater projects. Some of this will be, things that we've looked at in the past and haven't moved forward on, and I just finally came to the realization a lot of this that I think the Rucker property was one of them that we decided that it could back us up out on the street, so it's something that we need to take care of. But the way we planned on doing most of these is contracting them out unless our crews have just slowed down to a point that we can get to them. But we need to move forward on these, and what I'm looking for is approval to move forward with this project list, so one, we can free up some of the money will be coming out of stormwater reserves. And two, we're going to start working on some of the stormwater detention ponds, and we're going to kind of get our feet wet on that as to what kind of equipment it's going to take. We're going to contract a few of them out and see if it's worth us buying the equipment to do it, or to continue contracting them out and getting them cleaned out and then attempting to maintain, or turning them over to the HOAs. I do not anticipate taking these properties over at this point in time, but rather I've talked to Lee a little bit about getting a temporary easement to go in and clean some of these out, because a couple of the HOAs have said that they will maintain them. There'll be a few of them that will actually go in. They want to mow them and maintain them. We're going to go in once a month, maybe once every 2 months, maybe once every 6 months, cut the trees down and get in and out of there. So some of them actually want to have it a well-groomed area, and I don't see that being part of our list to do that. So I didn't know if you had any questions.
I do, Keith.
Okay.
Because there are several areas in District 2 in particular. Overlook is one that has a couple of retention areas or detention areas that are almost the size of a football field. I mean, they're huge. And they don't have a homeowners association. Early on, when we were trying to figure out how to manage this, and this was before we had the stormwater tax, there were occasions when the city would come in and kind of just take everything down. And it wasn't a really pretty sight. So one of the things that I had asked previously, and this is way before you, but, and I think it might have been Emily, because apparently there were some things that were being done in other parts of the United States that were creative in terms of plant materials that could be used. So I'm wondering if we could also look, as we're moving forward with this, into how we could address those areas that don't have HOAs and there's nobody that can take over that property, because what would not work is just going in and mowing down all the trees and just leaving this area of mass destruction, so to speak.
Right. Well, and it's not gonna be mass destruction.
Yeah, but-
We're gonna go ahead and clean it up, you know, and leave it with hopefully grass. And one of the things that we've also discussed is, you know, these things work properly when there's grass in there. Even if the grass is 2-3 feet tall, that's the way it's supposed to work. We've also looked at and discussed possibly going into areas like this and having an annual where somebody will go in there and spray a dike water or something that's aquatic safe and spray and kill the trees and the large brambles and, you know, all the broadleaf weeds. So we're kind of getting our feet wet, starting off doing this, and I've waited, 3 months to bring anything, and it's long enough that we have to get moving forward. And this thing will evolve as we go and we learn a little bit about, what we're doing. Some of these companies will bring some ideas to us, as far as how to maintain them continually. I do think the biggest thing is, if you came to me today and said, we have to do this ourselves, that I'd say, okay, well, we need $350,000 worth of equipment and 5 people. So I'd rather contract it out, see how well we do, contracting out the spraying, because it's just an annual spray. It's not going to be very expensive to do that. And if we can maintain them doing that, then, we can look forward down the road as to whether or not we're going to actually take that piece of property over.
I would appreciate, and I'm so grateful that you brought this forward. I would be interested in hearing some of the things that potential contractors have to say, because when we initially rolled out the stormwater tax, some of us did a lot of lead work in terms of convincing the community that this was going to be better for us, because it would be a way of addressing those issues with those ponds. So I appreciate the Big Spring Parks and a lot of the other things that we're doing, but that was our primary reason for making sure that was approved. Thank you so much.
Keith, I want to thank you also because, as Councilman Vincent said, we have a number of retention ponds in her district in particular that have really been a massive problem over the years, and no solution arrived. So the people there are long overdue for having that something happen there. It certainly would increase the ability to sell property there or maintain property because of the size and the depth of it and various things like that. And it becomes very difficult, and it increases the probability of rental property over home ownership. And we have seen a downturn because of these areas being so in such bad shape. And so, as the word overlooked says, it's truly been overlooked too long. It's been on our radar, but finding that solution is what's necessary now. But thank you so much.
Other comments, folks? Some of these projects been here years on this list. And I applaud you grabbing a hold of these and bringing it to our attention, because you are seeking our endorsement of these projects 2014. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, unless you have some questions, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, I guess, Ms. Nadia, you sounded, it was close. Ms. Vincent, would you second that motion?
Second.
Thank you so much. Now you have one more opportunity, folks.
Mayor, it's online, I'm sorry. Maybe on the motion we can be a little more specific, because, and Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, I was looking at your agenda items right here, and is it that you need mayor and council to specifically approve the LNIG, the 2015 LNIG street paving list, so that you can submit those documents to GDOT, or are you trying to avoid
No, this is,
Oh,
this is,
stormwater.
that's
Oh, I'm
the next
sorry,
one.
excuse me, I'm
You
sorry.
go ahead and do that,
We
real
moved on.
quick though.
We started talking about that, well, we started off talking about
Yeah,
that, we
no.
moved on to the detention bond, so forgive me.
No, that's fine, that's fine. No, these projects are stormwater.
Forgive me,
All right,
I
that's fine.
apologize.
Anybody have any questions? Any comments? All right, ladies and gentlemen, no questions, no comments, it's time for you to vote. Dennis?
Mr. Roger, I'm sorry, your line is not showing up. Would you press it one more time? Mr. Mayor, they are 7 in favor for this project list as presented.
Thank you so much. I had an answer. Good thing I used to do. Now, let's move down, Keith, while you're on your feet, let's talk about the item number 12.
This is the 2015 Madrid project report that's submitted to Georgia DOT. They've been asking us to submit a list so that we can get our LMIG money. Approximately $165,000 will be provided by the state for 2015 paving. It was contingent on us letting the 2013 LMIG, which we received the bids, we put the bids out last time, and you'll have the bids come November, what is it? The next council meeting, the 6th, it'll be awarded. So what we've done is, we're still using the 2011 road condition report. And then we had a few concerns, so I went out and looked at some roads that had some, Henry County had done some sewer work on it, and there are just some extra roads in there that we're based on. They were close to the top of the list anyway. George W. Lemon was a road that was, had quite a bit of sewer work that Henry County had done, and the road is settled and has a bunch of bad areas in it, so we're gonna fix that. Bridges Road is the longest road in the group, and it has lots of issues that'll need to be worked on. Bon Air is a road that is, by far out of that area, is the worst road. Is cracking, and I'm afraid if we don't fix it, we're going to have some problems on Fairview Drive as well. And if you noticed in the back of your packet was my 2016 LMIG list as well. And this is just a preliminary. This one will not be approved tonight. This was just going by the roads. Most of these roads are in the same area. Now, the only thing that would change would be that there would be more roads added, and this is where I would start, is if we reach an agreement with Henry County on taking care of Jonesboro Road in exchange for paving. If that comes up, then I would like to go to the 2016 LMIG list and start paving there, but we're not going to worry about that tonight. I just want to show you where we're headed next.
I guess
Go ahead, yes, go ahead.
my question is, do we follow the pavement inventory list?
Yes, the pavement inventory list, plus there were a few concerns that were pointed out to me. We actually went out and verified the issues on those roads and compared that to some of the other roads on the list. I mean, we just don't have enough money to, I'd like to get them all up into that 80 at least, and we're still working in the 70s list, plus some of the roads that were caused by the rehab done by Henry County. So, yes, that's the list we're using.
All right. So, yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question, about the, back half of the Hollywood Drive. How soon are we looking to merge into that direction? Because that one looked as badly as George W. Lennon Drive.
A lot of that's going to be on, I know we have some SPLOST money that we're going to put into that. A lot of that will be when that money's released, that we can start jumping around. Most of these roads are, small, short section roads similar to what you're talking about. So if any of that happens with Jonesboro Road, we can do a continuation on this. If some of the money's, is that bonded money for the paving? Or is all that money going to Phillips?
Paving,
Okay, so if we have some money and we can do continuation on the bidding or onto the projects, and I just have to come back and say, you know, we have the prices, if they'll keep their prices the same, since they were the low bidder, I believe we can
We
move
can
forward.
use pay-go money for,
Right.
And
for
so
that
that way we
extension.
can get a lot of those,
Yeah.
smaller roads that
Smaller
need
roads
some
done.
attention
Right.
done, okay.
Other comments, folks?
Yes, you did mention about, Bridges Road.
Yes,
Most of Bridges Roads in the county.
right,
You said that was the longest road.
right. Well, yeah, we're only doing a section of Bridges Road that's on our side. And then I'll go talk to the county about fixing their.
You, man, good luck.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
the only, and Keith, you probably know this, but the only caution that I have there is there are certain sections of Bridges Road. Well, we're in McDonough, then we're in Henry County, then we're back in McDonough. And then, on the portion there, Overlook, on one side, we're in the county, and on the other side of the road, we're in the city.
Right.
So we definitely are gonna have to have some type of agreement, because otherwise it won't work.
Right, and I've actually talked to Terry a little bit, and then I'll sit down with Rocky over there. Because we've got some issues out on Turner Church Road that they're gonna help us with as well. So.
Any other comment? Excuse me.
The only comment I have on this one project report is Purple Circle is misspelled. It's just, I don't know if that's an official report, you gotta follow somebody, but it's Burke. Or Fairview Drive.
It is an official document, so we'll change that. I'll get that changed. Don't let him sign that.
Okay, folks, you've heard recommendation of Mr. Dickinson, approval of the 2015 Elmeg Street paving document and authorizing me to sign. I entertain a motion. So moved.
Second.
And we have a second. Motion made and second. One more question. Opportunity for question, folks. Ms. Price, we got a motion second. Will you share that with us before we vote?
Yes, sir, I'm just trying to get the lights off, just a second. The motion is to approve the 2015 Elmeg Street paving list and give the mayor authorization to sign the documents to be submitted to Georgia DOT.
Okay.
Seven in favor, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon.
Thank you so much, Keith.
Thank you.
Red Gardner, Red, haven't heard anything out of you, but we expect to hear some good things here on item 16.
There's somewhere else, trying to keep a little profile.
Ah! All right.
Very quickly, hopefully we can accomplish this with time fair. As you know, we've been asked over and over again by Henry County and by our SPOS attorney to show off our bonded list of projects. And so we're back again with the hopes that we can either say yea to this list as it currently stands. The last time we met, we made some amendments to the list, specifically under housing, we moved $500,000 to show up for the housing authority and their project. Then we moved over $350,000 for the west terminus at Jonesboro and Doris. And those were the two projects that we moved over that increased our total list price to $8.9 million. We did put a cap that we agreed not to exceed $9.2 million of our bonded projects. As you know, we're estimating somewhere around $17 million total in terms of what we're going to see. I spoke to Fred Aretta, had a really long conversation with him at the county. You know, he thinks that our 17 million might be a little low based on what they see coming in now. but I wanna keep that as our leg at this time. I don't wanna go higher than that when it comes to this is because I want us to be really conservative as we approach the SLOSS. You know, if we happen to come in above that, we get to distribute those monies along these lists. And that's allowed by law. I don't, you know, if we get additional, that's fine, but let's go ahead and look at what we have now. So if keeping the list as is, I'll go through them. Real quick, we're looking at $1 million under, we have cultural, recreational, historical, $1 million in that category is what we've allotted. Under parks improvements, we've allotted $2.8 million. We've moved all the bonded out of public safety because we are working on those right now as you go pay-go. And you'll get your next update at the November 4th meeting. As I told you, I promise you I'll give an update every 2 months on what we've expended out of the SLOSS pay-go of this. And so we'll have that list ready for you all to go, and then we'll put it online so the public can have access to see exactly where we're spending SLOSS dollars. So those projects and the fire truck, at that point, I think we will be finished paying for the first fire truck, Chief?
This month?
This month. So that'll come off the list. We'll have fire truck number 2, and that'll be a bulk payment in January or February of next year.
Yes.
And then that'll basically that'll complete that item on the pump truck side. And as you know, we came in under budget because we got a good deal on 2 trucks. And some of the additional monies are going to basically getting fire supplies for those trucks and for firing on those vehicles. So they're using the excess when we do that. You have a question, sir? On the streets improvements, we have $4.5 million in the street improvements, and I think the discussion was just a minute ago about the paving, road improvements. We should be bonding $1.3 million, and that'll keep moving on one, matching LMA money, but one of the other things that we're going to do, Keith didn't mention, is also matching CDBG money as well, as we go ahead and apply for CDBG money with the county, because road paving and drainage in low-income areas are eligible activity in this community development cooperative, CDBG. So we'll go ahead, that way we are paying less and accomplishing more, which stretches our money, and that is the goal. And as you can see, those separate items, the next one is just basically taking care of the cost of our bond issuance at $37,000. So if that's the wish of council, that list will stay the same, and that's the number we will then give to Buddy and to the county, which is below the 9.2 that we said we would not. And at this amount, that should see us netting, will lead us somewhere around $600,000 on an annual basis outside of on a payroll section. So we won't collect money every month. Once you get to that point, the county will set aside the repayment on the bonds, and then we get the excess, and we use that to keep the payroll budgets moving forward. And at some point, we're going to come and ask y'all to, as we do these, to prioritize that payroll so we know where those monies are going as we go through the next 5 years, 5 to 4 years. So if that's fine with me and council, unless y'all have an amendment, if you do, let me know, and then we'll go through that movement. If not, if this is the way it is, we want y'all to go ahead and do that, and if that's the case, we'll take this list to our attorney.
You look to approve, right?
Yes, sir.
We'll talk. Okay, folks, entertain the motion.
I have one question.
Yes, go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, I should have asked the question. Yeah.
Fred, on the acquisition and improvements of public properties,
Yes.
we're not defining what that is with the bond, is that correct?
That is correct. We're big on that, so as our attorneys advise us.
Other questions, folks? All right. Back to square one.
And we'll post this on the web so the citizens can see the latest releases.
Make a motion at the, big thing. I'm sorry. Make a motion at the big thing. All right, fair enough. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Ken. Questions, folks? Comments? Ms. Price, please share with us the motion second.
To make sure I did what you wanted. The motion is to approve the bonded project list as presented tonight by the city administrator.
Chris, thank you so much. It's been a long process. I don't know how many times we told Brenda we'd have something, and we just keep moving all down the field. But at least we've got something formalized here, and I thank you for that. And with that, I want to call on you about the downtown development part.
Yes, Mayor and Council, and this is just for us to discuss. It wasn't a recommendation, asking for a recommendation, but more so to have a quick discussion about, as we go through looking at doing the financing, and we have no camp talk about the URA, that's the Urban Redevelopment Agency. As you know, we adopted an urban redevelopment area and an urban redevelopment plan sometime back, about 2 years ago. And with that, you know, I've had discussions with staff, my former ED staff, and had discussions with the DEA board recently, and trying to find some meaningful tasks for these guys to get going, because as you know, they're taking time off from their busy days to come and meet to discuss downtown development, but I need to get some action items moving forward with these guys. And so one of the things we discussed was looking at them, or just investigating it from you guys, whether you all would want to designate them as your urban redevelopment agency. What's the benefits of that? You know, we don't get any lower bond rating or higher bond rating with them being the agency. To some degree, it takes some of the legwork off the main council as you're doing some other things. That's one way of looking at it. And so what I did was kind of went through the document and produced this little handout for you guys to read through. Some of it is, it's kind of a little dated. I think it was 2005, because DEAs, hospital authorities or whatever, for the most part, DEAs cannot utilize eminent domain. That was changed after the Kelo case, Supreme Court case. The state legislature came back and took away the power of eminent domain from all DEAs in the state. So they no longer have the power of eminent domain. You can't delegate that power to them. That's only with you guys. So if they ever wanted to condemn a piece of property, they couldn't. They would have to bring that to you guys, and you would have to take action on that. So this literature is a little bigger than talks about the DEA having that power. That power does not exist. But I just wanted to have that discussion with y'all and see how y'all felt about it. I will tell you that I will be bringing it again, not again, but before you guys, as I've had discussions with them, how do we look at them probably taking over some of the real estate portfolio that we have, and that's what they're there for. To look at either marketing or shopping for redevelopment, or working in conjunction with the developer and make some new things happen in the downtown area. And I really want to get these guys moving forward with something before they get discouraged and start coming to meetings, because they're meeting just to talk. You know. But I just wanted to put this out for you guys and see how you felt. And if you take it, mirror it over some days, and if you feel comfortable with it, send us to God to bring it back. If not, that's fine by us. It's just for discussion and see how you all feel.
I think it's a matter of not knowing enough about it for me, because I don't know any reason why not, but I just don't know enough about it.
Well, I tell you what.
I can share. And couple of things I want to say. Number one, I do believe that we should support our downtown development authority, absolutely. Number two, there is some concern relative to the DDA becoming the urban redevelopment area for the city. Because currently we are, meaning mayor and council, are the legal redevelopment agency. Recently, I had the privilege of talking with some individuals relative to the proposals that are being put forth on Phillips Drive. And there is some concern that if the Downtown Development Authority were a redevelopment agency with all of the redevelopment that's taking place off Phillips Drive and Old Griffin Road, that citizens wouldn't have a lot of voice, because we don't have a council person that sits on that body. They're independent citizens within the city of McDonough with a great deal of power. And so based on that conversation, based on my experience with URAs, and based on the fact that there are a number, including Bridges Road, redevelopment areas that are in my district, I would prefer that the redevelopment powers remain with this body who basically are responsible to the people of the city of McDonough. And Gail, I'll be happy to.
Thank you for
I can
that.
send you.
Thank you for that,
Yes,
because,
ma'am.
I mean, that makes it perfectly clear to me.
I can send you.
Because all of those areas are very sensitive, how they're approached, how they're handled, you know, and, we've made some great strides, and I wouldn't want that, you know, I wouldn't want that to stop, because it took forever to us, you know, just to make the improvement we did at Doris Street and Bridges, and then the new development that came in there, and what's going on the, in the way of commercial development too in that area, and the potential it has. And I want us to safeguard what, you know, I think is going to be a really great opportunity there for, you know, revitalization overall. Toby Springs is one that I am so worried about in the future. And if anybody can come up with a miracle solution for Toby Springs, I would appreciate any any help where that's concerned, because really and truly, you know as well as I do that there's no real good solution, even with our new one-way payer situation. This person who usually has more things to say we might could do, or here's another way, or whatever, I really couldn't find a really good solution there, and I am scared to death for the Toby Springs area and what it means to that side of town and that area in particular overall. And for the residents there that actually own their homes in there, you know, what the impact.
And I wanted to ask City Administrator, do we have anywhere a catalog of how many of those homes are actually owner occupied and how many are rental? If they're owner occupied, then there's some opportunity through CDBG dollars for housing rehab. But if they're owner occupied and the owners are not maintaining the property, then that's a different story. So I'm just wondering if we have any way of knowing.
How many you own?
Yes.
Yes, we do, and I can share some.
Okay.
I don't have that information here, but that's easy to find.
Okay.
Would they be both the DDA and the urban development, or you do away with one?
No, they would hold, like you, they would hold two designations. You know, as man council, you operate as the elected body, but at the same time, once a year you need to discuss McDonough Corporation Finance Call. You don't meet as man council, you meet as the board of that entity, that separate entity to entity. So in this case, that's how they would have to see.
Can they make the debt?
Yes.
Enter into a debt,
Yes.
sell bonds?
Yes.
And obligate the city?
They don't obligate the city, but they can sell loans, yes. That's
But
part
there are lots of projects out there, and I'm sure you're already spinning with those projects. There are lots of projects out there that could fall under their supervision, but having said what was said concerning this, you can talk to me anytime you want, if you want it, you know. But I really stay very concerned about these
And
items.
I'll say this, representation is key to any entity, and it's important to have the varying groups within our cities at the table. And so the group that we have that's serving as the Downtown Development Authority is primarily focused on what their charge, which is downtown development. But when you're a redevelopment area, then that's whatever area we identify within the city that should be a target for redevelopment. So if I'm in a particular part of the city and there's nobody there that really represents my interests, then I have concerns. And that's pretty much the impetus of the concerns that I'm receiving, as well as Councilperson Varner.
Yes,
and you know, I also have people contacting me in the Low Street area. And that area is definitely up for some real hard look and discussion concerning what direction it's taking or will take, and you know, how we can ensure revitalization there. Where I grew up over on College Street, a number of the families have now passed, and the properties are out there, and Mr. Swindon just done an excellent job of buying properties and rehabbing them in the past, but we can't depend on him to buy everything on College Street and rehab everything on College Street and keep it going, you know, and I just, that really needs some attention there as it moves into Cemetery Street, Roger Street area. So, I mean, these things are just really key to keeping up some of the revitalization that we've seen occur in these older areas. And that's not even taking away from us taking really hard looks as Burke Circle begins to age, and it is doing that, you know, and we certainly want to keep, of course, right now, Lawrenceville Street is in good shape, but once upon a time, if it hadn't been for even members here sitting in our audience who stepped in and took an aging home, you know, and moved it forward and lifted it up, this is what we need a real serious plan for and input for and vision that everybody out here can see and buy into in the future and hopefully pass it on.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Ms. Benson, Ms. Knight, thank you. Item number 18, folks, is not being moved, as you know, to number 6, which will come down. Yeah. We're down on unscheduled comments. Ms. Nettle Bannon. Ms. Bannon, we welcome you. If you come to the podium, we'd love to hear from you, young lady. I haven't seen you in a while. I tell you, I guess I'm scared to turn it around. Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. It's kind of unusual. We got this situation, so thank you for being here.
Yeah. I came originally because self-parking was on the agenda, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. But then I got curious as it got moved off, but I got a little bit alarmed as we went through this conversation on healthcare, and let me tell you why. And about a couple other things. But when we came together and talked about the budget, the last time I was here, we were all searching for $450,000, if you recall, okay? So when I walk into the meeting tonight and I hear that, oh sure, we got 5 to 8K, and listen, there's a big difference between 5 and 8K, it's almost double, because you don't have a real amount here. It's between 5 and 8K, and we have it in our audit funds, and we were so tight, we couldn't find $450,000. And then I hear that, oh yeah, we have a 9% increase in our healthcare benefits, but we already planned for that. And we had 6.9 in our dental, but not to worry, we already had planned for that. I'm starting to question the budget process that you guys are going through, because obviously, I mean, 9% in healthcare, given how much your healthcare costs, is huge, because it's a big cost of what employee benefits are. It's huge. So when you have that kind of money available in your budget and you're looking for $450,000, I'm starting to question, what kind of budget documents do you have in front of you? Because in your budget, I didn't see any notes in your budget that said, by the way, we programmed in here a 10% increase in this or a 10% increase in that. I didn't see any of those. Maybe they're there and I missed them, but I was a little concerned. So that said, I'd actually go back and take a look, because we were looking for $450,000 not too long ago. So please go take a look. Secondarily to that, I'm just going to bring up parking really quick for thoughts, since you're going to get to it.
Bring up what in there?
Parking.
Oh, good.
Okay?
Thank you.
Since you're going to get to that. Parking for me, I've been asking for a long time since I've been in downtown Merchant, is that somebody do an assessment of where your employees park and what's going on. And it's never been done. You have no idea where they park. You don't know how many you have, and you don't know where they park. They're all over the place. And so as you go through and make decisions about leasing lots, not leasing lots, I get the idea of what we pay for them is ridiculous. Okay, I get that, but you need to have all the information that you need in order to come to grips with that. If you're trying to do downtown development at all, and you're trying to draw merchants to the square, you really have to know the answer to that question, and then your projected growth. Where are you headed? And then your parking plan has to align with that. And I'll tell you that we never had the answer to that question. That's the first thing. The second thing is I understand in the last conversations, one of the merchants has volunteered to use the parking lot. We were thinking about paving it. I said, listen guys, that's nice, except that it's only after hours, number one. And number two, if you're gonna pave that merchant's lot, you gotta pave everybody's, because we all end up being a parking place for people in the city, because there's at least, even though I know we have enough parking spaces, there's a perception by the public that it is not adequate for where they want to park, okay? So, even though we know we have plenty, I know it's a perception by the public, okay? So, my problem is that I've got pictures from this weekend. I walked into my lot yesterday hauling stuff in. I got people all over my lot because they want to see the scarecrows, okay. And Judge Chafin has them all over, okay. And I just paid $12,500 to pave my parking lot. What bigger question for you is, even if you do that and spend city money to do that, you're not doing it for everyone. And even though we're using our lots when we're not there, people are using our lots. And secondarily to that, we still own the liability. If someone parks in our lot and there's an incident in our parking lot, regardless of whether you paved it or they gave you permission or whatever, we still have the liability for that. So there has to be a better solution, would be my point to you. The building next to me is in disarray. Everybody knows it. We bought it for parking. We overpaid for it, given that you wanted to use it to tear it down. The lot itself is only worth $50,000. It's never been worth anything more. You paid a little over $160,000 for it. Even if you tear it down and pave it with 17 spaces, you're going to spend $200,000 for a lot that's worth $50,000. Unless, of course, you're planning to build a pyramid of parking with a whole bunch of land, and then it makes sense. So what's halting us altogether is this whole idea that we have some viable solution on the edge of being able to be approved for parking. I would argue that we do not. Okay, so I'm a little concerned with that. Lastly, just let me bring up a pet peeve of mine. I called the city to try to resolve some of these issues I have gone in the past. Sometimes, most of the time somebody answers the phone, but sometimes they don't. I cannot get to your directory. So if you have the directory number, you can dial the directory. But nobody has your directory number. Could you please put a list of directory departments with telephone extensions, because we don't have your extensions. So it's frustrating. And then when we call them, please either empty your mailboxes or at least put more room in them, because every time I call and say, leave a message, the mailbox is full. And by the way, Frederick, you owe me an answer. You owe me a check. So it didn't come last week. It didn't come this week. If you've mailed it, great. It makes it more inconvenient for me to wait by the mailbox. If not, please get with me after the meeting. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Nat. We'll always welcome comments by our citizens, and we'll all appreciate the statements that you made, and thank you for being here. Which will carry us down to, and I'm going to page 3. Then in June, we've got executive session. As you recall at the outset, listed is litigation, OCGA 50-14-2. There are 2 additions to executive session. Personnel, OCGA 50-14-3B2. And lastly, real estate, OCGA 50-14-3B1. And with that, I entertain a motion to go into executive session. Have a second? Second. Any question, anybody? Any questions? Ms. Price, share with us the motion second at this time, please.
The motion is to go into executive session for litigation, OCGA 50-14-2, personnel 50-14-3B2, and real estate 50-14-3B1.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, will you please vote?
Ms. Dunn, would you hit your line again, please?
On my side.
Thank you. 7 in favor?
7 in favor. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think we're going to be too long, but I just can't say for sure. But I hope that we won't. But thank you so much for being here. Andy Davis, we're so indebted to you for this wonderful piece of work. awesome, and I hope for tomorrow, we will have located a spot. Ms. Price has been working on the stand, and we'll be doing that. But I tell you what, I don't want to try to pick that summer up.
Just leave it alone, watch them.
That's right, man, you get your nice earning, right?
You need a nice marble
We don't want to leave it on the lecture meeting.
No, we will not.
Well, that's why I'm waiting around, I'll wait till the meeting's over, and then, we'll decide what to do.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't think we'll be going on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here. Thank you. Thank you, Ned, for your comments. We'll be back hopefully momentarily. Entertainment wants to go back into our regular meeting. Second? Okay. Okay, Ruth, right. Okay, any questions? Bruce was, made the motion. Roger seconded, I think. And let's, how about giving us a motion and we'll vote?
The
Back
motion
in
is
the
to
regular
go,
session.
the motion is to go back into regular session.
Would you please vote at this time? And
7 in favor.
7 in favor, so we're back in our regular meeting. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we have one action item, and I'll call on Councilman Ellis.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the recommendation of the city administrator and appoint Robert Trescott to the position of Business Development Director with an approximate start date on or about November 1st, 2014.
Okay, we have a second.
Question,
Second.
shoot, I'm sorry, second, I
Oh,
have a
man.
question.
Go ahead.
Please, should we use the term appoint or hire?
Appoint, I mean, the charter uses the word appoint, the mayor council appoints the department heads.
Okay, because appoint has another connotation, so that,
I understand, and that's the word that the charter uses, so that's the word that I would use. Just as a point of order, you all also set the salary for the department heads. So if that's something you all want to do with this motion, then you can go ahead and do that since the start date is prior to the next council workshop.
what,
And I believe Frederick could tell you the number that.
you got prior, you got,
It's 75. 75,000.
Did you just add?
We have budgeted now for the phone care.
Can we just add that in your motion, Councilman?
Everybody understand that?
I accept that amendment.
All right, any other questions relative to, Robert Prescott?
Who seconded the motion, please?
I did, Ms. Janice,
Thank
it's
you.
Trescott, ma'am.
Oh, it's Prescott.
Trescott.
Oh, Prescott, so Prescott, okay, I was out in Arizona somewhere, right? Prescott. Okay, any questions?
Motion is to approve the recommendation of the city administrator to appoint Robert Trescott as the business development director at a salary of $75,000 annually, and his start date will be around November 1st, 2014.
Thank you, Janice. Council, please vote at this time.
7 in favor, Mayor.
And thank you, council, thank you, Fred, for bringing that to our attention. Let's move down to you, Mr. Administrator. Do you have any comments?
Just one real quick. As some of you might know, Emily Rebbe's leaving us. So I'd just like to thank her for 4+ years of service here with the city. She's headed to South Carolina to be staff agent there for a wonderful city of Next to Charleston, South Carolina.
Anything else, Fred?
That's it.
Thank you so much. Madam Attorney?
No, Mayor, I don't have anything.
Madam Clerk? You got anything to add?
Yes, sir, I have business we need to tend to. I need to know what's your day, next Tuesday or Thursday, do you want to have the special called meeting?
I cannot do Tuesday.
What about the 30th?
Can everybody else do Thursday?
I can't do Thursday.
I heard to let you
let me ask this, what time?
Well, y'all tell me, but this is so important with this service delivery strategy. My little opinion said it thinks y'all all need to be there, but that's just my 2 cents.
No, it's a must.
And I'm sorry, I probably should have mentioned this. I know that Janice tried to email out to y'all initially last week, and then the email wouldn't go through because we're limited in how much we can scan and fax. But I think she did have delivered out to you hard copies of all those 47 different documents. And those are kind of tedious to try and work through and figure out exactly who does what and what does that mean. So what I've got is a condensed 10-page sort of matrix that I should have finished by tomorrow, and I'll be able to send that out to you that sort of breaks it down a little more succinctly in what the old one did, current agreement or past agreement, and then what the proposed one, there's a change there. And then you all can make some recommendations on what you want.
What time do you need, Craig?
I have a previous speaking engagement at 7, so if it was earlier, as long as I get out of here and it's just down the street, so I'm all y'all till about 10 till 7.
What do y'all want to start meeting at 6?
I'm gonna have to see my calendar. So I'll let you know.
Of course, county.
Are you talking about on Tuesday?
The 28th.
Tuesday, yes, Tuesday.
I think it could take longer than an hour.
I was thinking 5, if that was possible.
Or maybe we could do it on Thursday? You know,
No.
it's Thursday.
Can.
Oh, sorry.
Can on Thursday.
Tuesday at 5,
5. Tuesday at 5.
And Sandra's gonna check hers, right?
Is that the okay, Craig?
That'd be great.
Janice,
Well,
on tentative
well,
basis.
Ms. Vincent might not can get off it, to be here by 5.
Janice, whatever the tentative dates are, I'll just let you guys know tomorrow. So I'll look at Tuesday at 5, and I've heard some other dates as well.
Well, Cam can't come on the 28th, so we only have one day.
And I thought you said you could come on the 30th.
I mean,
That's
So
right.
we're just looking at the 28th. This is, if you by chance can make that.
is 2 hours enough?
I think that 2 hours will surely, hopefully, that will be enough.
But certainly not an hour.
Certainly not an hour.
Okay, Janice, you gonna pursue that for us? Send you.
Okay, if Ms. Vincent can't, I need an alternative, folks.
Can we not do it 29?
That's Wednesday night.
Okay.
That,
Or 27th?
Well, the mayor has a conflict there.
You want to make sure, I mean, I'll get you the matrix, but then, you know, it would be good if you would go ahead and take a look at as much of the agreements as possible.
Sure.
They're pretty voluminous, so
How many-
to give yourself enough time to.
What about the 29th,
Tell
everybody?
me when to be there.
I know it's church night, but what about the 29th, everybody?
Ms. Vincent?
Hey, I'm sorry, I will have to look at my calendar.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I
Janice,
promise to
29th,
get back
you
to
know, that's a,
5 to 7?
Okay, I might have to find me a substitute.
that's,
First choice is still October the 28th at 5, and the second choice Wednesday at what time?
5?
Okay. I'll let y'all know in the morning after I hear from Councilman Vincent. Okay, that's the first piece of business.
all right, go ahead.
Each of you at your mayor and council, you got a sheet from Cheryl, Director of Tourism. She will attempt to get y'all tickets. If you want to tell me what you want and how many. It sounded like to me she was gonna be able to maybe get y'all freebies. I know they're expensive. She said, tell me what you want, but I gotta let her know in the morning. So if y'all want anything, put it down and we hope they're freebies.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
For the pageant.
For the pageant, okay.
For November 21 and 22.
Okay.
And then
You want that information now?
they need to mark their sheet tonight and leave it there. If you want Cheryl to try to get you a ticket,
I don't think it's a guarantee that she can.
no, it's no guarantee.
That's,
But she was gonna quote, try. Now, I don't see anybody getting all 4 tickets, but you might get, you know, whatever. But circle and you tell me 1 or 2. She will attempt to get them tomorrow, no promises, but she's working on it. Okay, the last thing is, as y'all know, Stockbridge has had a lot of goings on lately, so we need a head count by Friday. If you can go to the HMA dinner, November 13th. So you can let me know that, please.
Yes.
Again. And I'm assuming. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. And then. Okay, and then I'm assuming I've already heard back from everybody, if y'all wanted a ticket to the State of the Union, the date's passed that you were supposed to let me know, so I'm assuming y'all don't, no one else wants a ticket to the state of the region unless you've already told them.
Regional breakfast.
Correct, on the 7th.
And I sent it to you. And December.
That's correct.
Mayor's conference.
Pardon?
November 7th, that's the.
It's November 7th, Friday morning, and we live here about 6:30. Okay. So nobody else wants?
Yes, I did. I read my.
Anybody else? Because the deadline's passed. Sandra and Kane.
All right.
And what about Mayor's Day? I didn't know what we were doing budget-wise, you know, whether we're driving back and forth or actually getting hotel rooms.
That was the same question I had.
I'm waiting for I guess we'll have to have the budget discussion in November, and then depending on what y'all cut and all, I guess at that time, but, you know, all I know is that the Hilton has a block of rooms that are set aside for GMA. But I guess I could go ahead and get them in council if y'all want to.
That's what you do. I think our recommendations for all things, National League, based on last year, we could cut $4,000. That's what we did, 19,015. But I'd go ahead and do that.
Go ahead and make, okay, then when y'all fill out your form,
And then
and y'all saw on your form, we need to do it the earliest date possible because you get to save money for the city, for the taxpayers. So I need it back, please. That's all, Mayor, finally.
Can we email it, just email it back?
Yes. Scan it, fax it,
on the
whatever.
21st, Craig,
I got yours, Craig.
21st, is that both of those at Eagle Landing, Saturday the 21st? Mrs. George at 6:30 and 8:30.
That's the actual.
That's the show.
That's the show.
That's over here.
Where's the Eagles Landing? That's the 21st too.
That's the 20th.
Oh, it's the 20th?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is the 20th at Eagles.
That's not open to the public, that's the dinner.
That's right, that's right.
And is that whole council or not?
I believe it's just the production company. I don't really know if that's the production company's dinner.
And we, okay, I thought, I don't know.
So what we need to do is tell Janice, preliminary show, either Miss Georgia or the other one. If you go to one, you pay a fee of $40. You have to pay a fee for another 40. Is that what it?
The way I understand it, that each show is its own ticket.
It is, okay.
6:30, 8:30, 3:30, 8 o'clock.
Okay. I'll have to let you know first thing in the morning, mine, okay? All right,
And Cheryl's not making any promises. She's gonna try.
And that's fine, I'd already told her, I'll say it fine, I think. Anyway, we'll talk about it in the morning, everybody, get in touch with her. All right, Ms. Vincent, you have any comment? Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Elroy.
I just want to echo what our city administrator said today about Evelyn. She did a great job while she was here, and especially while I've been here. I've enjoyed working with her, so I want to thank her for that. Other than that, no, sir. That's it.
Thank you so much. Ms. Knight?
No, I just want to thank everybody that works for us for the great job they do, in spite of us.
I love that. Amen now. Councilman? Ms. Campbell? Roger?
Mayor, I want to mention that McDonough 101 Academy graduation is tomorrow at 6:30. You've already mentioned the job fair Friday.
Right.
And next Tuesday, I hope you'll join the city administrator and try to wear some pink. That'll be the day we recognize breast cancer awareness here in the city. So all the employees are going to try to wear some pink.
And also Tuesday night is a public meeting to try to save the McDonough Elementary School.
So tomorrow night, it's 101 at 6:30?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for reminding me that I had it on my calendar. Okay,
Job
folks,
fair is 10 to 2.
10 to 2 Friday, 10 to 2 Friday, encourage as many people as can to go. Okay, folks, thank you for your attention, thank you for you young ladies staying this long at the bitter end,